If you take a look at the laptop market for the past couple of years, you'll know that it's primarily dominated by Intel and Nvidia, especially for gaming laptops. But with the launch of the Ryzen 5000 series, well, more and more manufacturers are beginning to favor a Ryzen and GeForce combo for their gaming laptops, and it's pretty awesome. But AMD is not stopping there. That's right, they're bringing their Radeon RX 6000M series of graphics cards to the gaming laptop segment, and it all starts with this. This is the Asus Strix G15 Advantage Edition, and it sports a Ryzen 9 5900HX and a Radeon RX 6800M. It's been a while since we've got an all AMD gaming laptop. Okay, so just a quick brief. If you're not up to date to the latest news, well, a few weeks ago, AMD basically announced their latest range of Radeon RX 6000M series of graphics card for the laptops, and for now, you basically get 3 flavors. The RX 6800M sits at the top, followed by the RX 6700M, and then we have the RX 6600M. For those of you who have been following the desktop space, you'll notice that the RX 6800M has a really familiar set of specifications, and that's simply because it is actually using the same Navi 22 core layout as the desktop RX 6700 XT. The RX 6700M is then a further cut down version of that chip, and the RX 6600M is actually the newest of the bunch, featuring a new Navi 23 core. Now, as you might easily tell, the RX 6800M is to go up against the RTX 3080, the RX 6700M against the RTX 3070, and the RX 6600M against the RTX 3060 respectively. At the very least, that's how AMD is positioning their new graphics lineup. But do take note that it's extremely difficult to do an apples-to-apples comparison when it comes to gaming laptop performance, because so many factors play a part. The design of the chassis, the cooling system, the amount of thermal graphics power allocated, all of that stuff. So just do take note when we dive into the performance benchmarks a little while later. But for now, let's talk a little bit about the Strix G15. If you're familiar with the Strix series of laptops from Asus, it's pretty much a very similar design to past iterations. You still get a slightly bulkier frame compared to most other laptops in the class, and still features its sort of split matrix design throughout the chassis. The same goes for the RGB, which you might notice that I don't have it turned on. Well, it's not that I don't want to turn it on, but unfortunately, Aura Sync has kind of gone haywire for me, at least on this review unit. And for the past 3 days, for the life of me, I couldn't fix it, no matter what kind of methods I used. But don't worry, if you want RGB, this laptop definitely has plenty of it. But we come to the display, and it's a fantastic one. The one that's on our unit currently is the Full HD 300Hz panel, which is just plenty awesome for gaming. Colors are great, response time is awesome, and refresh rate is more than you ever need. But should you want a higher resolution panel, there will also be an option for a Quad HD 165Hz panel. Similar to previous Strix models, you also get pretty much the same keyboard and trackpad, which works and are great. But at the same time, for those of you who want a webcam on the Strix, well, that still isn't here. Personally, I don't mind it because I rarely use a webcam, but it might be a deal breaker for some of you out there. You do also get plenty of ports, of which there's also RJ45 Ethernet and a Type-C port which supports up to 100 watts power delivery, and of course speakers, which won't blow you away but still does sound pretty great. Overall, it's the exact same chassis as the current lineup featuring the RTX cards, just that this features an AMD one. And with that said, let's talk about specs and dive into performance right after. As mentioned, the Strix G15 Advantage Edition comes with an AMD Ryzen 9 5900HX, the AMD Radeon RX 6800M, 32GB of RAM running at 3200MHz, and a 512GB PCIe SSD. One thing to note here is that the overall cooling capacity of this particular laptop is about 180 watts. So if we were to take the 5900HX at its standard 45W operating TDP, that would leave about 135 watts for the RX 6800M. However, that's not always the case. In practice, the RX 6800M was drawing anywhere from 100 watts all the way to 160 watts or so. And that's because of a particular feature that's only available on an all AMD system, AMD Smart Shift. Now, I won't go into detail into how Smart Shift works, but in essence, it dynamically and intelligently shifts the power between the CPU and the GPU depending on the load, within the total cooling capacity. So first up, Cinebench R23. Very respectable performance here, and it's pretty much in line with the Legion 7 which we've tested previously, which is expected since both laptops feature the same Ryzen 9 5900HX. Onto WG Resolve, which is more GPU dependent, the render times for both the 1080p and the 4K projects are very good as well. Compared to the RTX 3080 on the Legion 7, this is just a slight bit slower. But now, let's talk about gaming performance, and it is rather interesting. We did test the Strix G15 on both the performance and turbo profiles via Armoury Crate, but as you can tell, there actually isn't much difference between the two. While there may be many factors at play here, it's highly likely to have everything to do with Smart Shift. One thing to also note is that the new RX 6800M also supports ray tracing, though it does have some limitations. Overall, the ray tracing performance is below the RTX 3070, and of course, it doesn't support DLSS 2.0 or any of the new features. Talking about temperatures, they are actually pretty well controlled. During gaming, the Ryzen 9 5900HX hovers in the 90 degrees Celsius range, while the RX 6800M usually settles around 83 degrees Celsius. But what's more amazing is that the keyboard deck remains cool to the touch even after extended sessions of gaming. Overall, the performance of the RX 6800M is quite stellar. In our test, it sits somewhere right between the RTX 3080 and the RTX 3070. While we weren't really able to get the numbers which AMD claimed, pitting the RX 6800M against the RTX 3080, we are still fairly impressed by the performance. But to be fair, there are a lot of factors at play here, and truthfully, you just can't get an apples to apples comparison for gaming laptops in particular. And on that note, we also have quite a small sample size, so there's that. But there is one thing in which an all AMD laptop actually has an advantage over an Intel and GeForce combo or a Ryzen and GeForce combo laptop, and that's battery life. Who would have thought? Compared to the Razer Blade 15, the Legion 5 Pro and the Legion 7, the Strix G15 lasts an average of about 2 hours longer in a real-world usage scenario, a total of about 9 hours of actual use on a full AMD gaming laptop. That's a number that nobody would have thought possible just a year back. Granted, the Strix G15 does have a bigger battery at 90 Wh, but this is definitely one point which lives up to AMD's claims. But now, here's the kicker, the price. As of the filming of this video, there isn't an exact pricing just yet, but Asus has already stated that this will be roughly $1,600 to $1,700 Now in comparison to the RTX 3070 version, it's about $100 cheaper. Considering the performance of the RX 6800M, which is really similar to the RTX 3070, this is looking to be really enticing. But yes, there are some key benefits which GeForce does offer, like ray tracing and more importantly NVENC, which is still far superior. But if those features aren't top of the list for you, this is a laptop that you definitely want to take a look at. But now, short disclaimer, for those of you guys who are in Singapore, me included, Asus is not planning to bring the AMD model to Singapore. I have no idea why. So if you're interested in the Strix G15, only the GeForce variants will be available here, which are great laptops, no doubt, but a tad expensive. In fact, it's even more expensive than actually buying it online from the US and then shipping it here, but I digress. In any case, for the rest of you guys out there, the Strix G15 Advantage Edition from Asus ROG is an extremely interesting gaming laptop, especially at this point in time. But this also marks AMD getting back into the competition. And more competition is always good. If you have any questions, let us know in the comment section down below, and if you would like to, do check out the affiliate links in the description. If you do, thanks for your support. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to us on YouTube, follow us on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. Till the next one, see ya!